Darth Vader's TIE fighter spins out of control through the vacuum of space at max speed, the cataclysmic aftermath of the Death Star's destruction as a climactic backdrop. His ship, compromised, struggles to maintain control. Inside the cramped cockpit, Vader's breath comes in the familiar mechanical rhythm, a calm consistency amidst the chaos. Regaining control of the ship with the deft manipulation of the controls, Vader steers away from the battlefield, the remnants of the Imperial station a mess of cosmic fire and debris, a testament to the rebels' unwavering resolve. His navigation systems flicker under the strain of damage, but the Dark Lord of the Sith is far from defeated. The galaxy is vast and filled with innumerable hideaways, his journey far from over. His eyes, ever perceptive behind his black mask, caught a glimmer of hope. A distant world, unmarked by the star charts, yet promising sanctuary with its welcoming glow. Initiating the landing sequence with his TIE fighter still spinning out of control, Vader directs his faltering starfighter towards the planet. As the atmosphere envelops him, the friction ignites the remaining vulnerabilities in his ship's hull, turning his descent into a perilous blaze across the sky. The TIE fighter, engulfed in flames, hurtles towards the expanse of an uncharted world. Thick forests and winding rivers rush to meet him as the emergency systems whine and protest under the stress. Vader pushes himself from the doomed craft moments before impact, using the Force to guide his descent towards a less treacherous landing spot. His boots hit the soft soil of a dense forest with a thud, the undergrowth whispering secrets of a world untouched by the wars of the galaxy. The air is crisp and tinged with the scent of alien flora. Rising to his full height, Vader surveys his surroundings, a planet vibrant with life, yet silent about its history. Have you ever wondered what would have happened if General Iroh had trained Darth Vader? Well, if so, then today you are in for a special Bantha Crossover treat, because that is exactly what we'll be diving into today. So, buckle your seatbelts, grab your nice warm bowl of Bantha stew, and let's hop right into today's video. But before we do, please be sure to like and subscribe, as every little bit of support for Bantha Stew helps. In addition, at the time of recording this, James Earl Jones has passed away, and I simply want to commend him on all of the excellent work that he's done throughout his life, his beautiful voice, a beacon of hope for many fans during times of need, and his staunch, calming presence, one that everybody could find relatable. Thank you for your work, James Earl Jones, and may the Force be with you always. Now, let's dive right into today's video. In the vast, sun-scorched expanse of the Siwang Desert, a figure clad in black armor trudged tirelessly. Darth Vader, one of the feared enforcers of the Galactic Empire, now finds himself a stranger in a strange land. His TIE starfighter, a smoldering wreck, lays half-buried in the sand dunes miles behind him. With each step, his mechanical breathing is the only sound punctuating the eerie silence of the desert. The planet is unfamiliar, primitive, and devoid of the technological signatures that Vader was accustomed to sensing in the Force. His journey, driven by a need to reconnect with any remnant of Imperial society, had brought him to a small settlement known simply as the Plains Village. As he enters, his imposing figure casts a shadow that seems to chill the air despite the desert heat. The villagers, unaccustomed to such an unnatural presence, retreat into their homes, whispering fearfully as doors slam shut before Vader. Even a local gang, toughened earthbenders who typically ruled the streets, paused at the sight of the imposing figure. They exchange wary glances before disappearing down an alley, unwilling to confront this dark intruder. Vader pays little heed to the isolation that his presence commands. His mission is singular, to find resources and information. Yet, as he scans this primitive setup, his hope begins to dwindle. There's nothing here. No technology advanced enough to assist, no vehicles that could withstand space travel. It was dead. However, not all eyes turned away from the Sith Lord. As Vader marches through the central square of the village, a lone figure approaches from the opposite direction. The man was older, with a calm demeanor that contrasted sharply with the tension surrounding him. He stops a few paces away from Vader, regarding him with thoughtful expression. "I could feel your anger and hatred from across the town," the old man says, his voice carrying a resonant timbre that seemed to vibrate with an underlying strength. Vader's response is instinctual. "Are you a Jedi?" he demands, his hand going to the hilt of his lightsaber. The man chuckles softly, shaking his head. No, I am not what you think. But I warn you, this confrontation will not end in your favor. Unperturbed by the warning and driven by a mixture of suspicion and desperation, Vader unleashes a force push on the man. The old man's cloak flutters dramatically, and his posture stands firm, revealing the identity of a gray-bearded and slightly overweight warrior. In the heart of the Plains village, a showdown unlike any other unfolds before the watchful eyes of its inhabitants. Darth Vader, driven by the raw power of the dark side, faces off against General Iroh, a master of firebending whose wisdom and power transcends the understanding of most. As Vader charges, his lightsaber slashing through the air with lethal precision, Iroh stands calm and collected. When the crimson blade meets a sudden shield of fire, the clash sends a shockwave of light and heat radiating outward. Vader, momentarily stunned by Iroh's ability to manipulate and resist the superheated plasma of his lightsaber, hesitates, his first flicker of doubt since the battle had begun. Iroh, seizing this moment, unleashes a powerful blast of fire from his mouth, a signature move that catches Vader off guard. The Sith Lord's cloak ignites, and with a swift motion he discards the burning garment and reaches out with the force, pushing Iroh backwards. Iroh skids across the ground, regaining his footing with the agility of a seasoned warrior. "Your anger blinds you," he remarks, eyeing Vader with a mixture of concern and steadfast resolve. Vader, his voice old and mechanical through the modulator, replies, "The dark side gives me focus, old man." Again, Vader lunges, his blade aiming for a decisive blow, but Iroh deflects it once more, twice, thrice, with effortless motions. Each contact between fire and plasma resonates like a bell tolling, marking the passage of a momentous encounter between two masters of their craft. "Your great power is hindered by your hatred," Iroh intones. "It is time for you to let go." Vader retorted, frustration seeping into his tone. "Die, old man." Iroh, momentarily taken aback by this query, finds himself caught in Vader's signature force choke. The air tightens around him, a cruel grip that threatens to end the discourse once and for all. As Vader tightens his hold, a triumphant edge creeps into his voice. "Your refusal to touch the dark side makes you weak." Yet, Iroh's response was a serene smile, even as he struggled for breath. In a sudden burst of energy, a bolt of lightning erupts from his fingertips, striking Vader squarely in the chest. The impact is catastrophic. Vader's suit, integral to his survival, malfunctions critically, and he staggers backwards. The Sith Lord collapses, his systems failing, and his breathing labored. As the villagers look on, a hush falls over the scene. Iroh approaches slowly, his expression one of sorrow for the necessity of his actions. Vader lays on the ground, his vision blurring and darkness encroaching on his person, but his mind is unexpectedly sharp. Suspended between life and death, Iroh penetrates the veil of anger and hatred that had clouded Vader's judgment for so long. The realization that such power wasn't fueled by rage begins to dawn on Vader, a lesson delivered through Iroh's compassion and raw strength. As Vader's consciousness waned, Iroh leads beside him, placing a gentle hand on the Sith's shoulder. "Let go of your hate. Find strength in peace," Iroh whispers, hoping his words would heal the mind of the Dark Lord. Inside a humble home on the edge of the Plains village, Darth Vader slowly regains his consciousness, the steady hiss of his respirator punctuating the silence. His body aches from his intense encounter with Iroh, and the lingering effects of the lightning strike leave him feeling unusually vulnerable. As he lays there, processing his survival, the door creaks open, and Iroh steps in, a steaming cup of tea in his hand. Vader's instinctual anger flares at the sight of the man who had nearly ended his life. Without a word, he gestures sharply with the Force, sending the teacup shattering against the wall. Iroh simply sighs at the destruction, remarking with a gentle chiding, "Such a waste of good tea." Vader, struggling to sit up, fixes his gaze on Iroh. The Sith Lord's voice was a mix of confusion and anger. "Why did you spare me?" he demands, his tone harsh even through the mechanical filter. Iroh sets down the teapot and takes a seat near his bed, his demeanor calm. "To end your life would have been the end of my own journey towards redemption," Iroh explains softly. "I was once a man of war, seeking glory and conquest, blind to the cost of my ambitions until it was too late. Vader listens, his breaths heavy and uneven, as Iroh shared the tale of his dark past, a formidable general whose quest for victory had resulted in the loss of his own son. The parallels to Vader's own story, the loss of Padme and his separation from his children, struck a deep chord within him. The pain was familiar, yet Iroh's response to this grief was alien to Vader. Instead of anger and a quest for control, Iroh had chosen a path of peace. How? Vader found himself asking, the question laced with genuine curiosity. How can you live at such peace after that loss? Iroh looks at him with eyes full of understanding and a hint of sorrow. By letting go of the anger and the desire for revenge, by understanding that my strength comes not from power over others, but from peace within myself. Vader, moved by the openness and tranquility that Iroh emanated, feels a flicker of something that he had not felt in years. Hope. Anakin Skywalker, the man he once was, seemed to stir within him, reaching out towards peace. Show me how, Vader says, the words almost a whisper. Iroh nods, a small smile gracing his lips. I will teach you, but you must be willing to let go of your hatred, to forgive yourself, and to start anew. Can you do that? Vader paused, the weight of the question bearing down on him. After a moment, he nodded slowly. The two sat in silence, the only sound the gentle crackling of the fire and Vader's softened breathing. This moment marks the beginning of a new journey for the Dark Lord, a path towards redemption and, perhaps, one day peace. In the quiet of the small house, under the watchful eyes of General Iroh, Darth Vader begins his first steps to transforming back into Anakin Skywalker. Weeks continue to pass by. The former Sith Lord, still clad in the remnants of his dark armor, walks alongside General Iroh. The tranquility of their surroundings contrasted sharply with the turmoil within him. Iroh, a master of both combat and peace, had begun to teach Anakin the finer points of mastering one's emotions, a lesson pivotal to both firebending and wielding the Force. Firebending, Iroh explains, is often powered by anger, but it is the weakest form. True power comes from peace and self-control. This concept is foreign to Anakin, whose life had been a testament to the strength derived from fear and anger. As they practiced, with Iroh gently guiding him through the motions of firebending, Anakin finds himself confronted with the full weight of his past actions. The death of Mace Windu, his role in the Jedi Purge, the loss of Padme, and the silent complicity with the destruction of Alderaan. Each memory surges like a wave, threatening to pull him under. In a moment of overwhelming guilt, Anakin collapses, the floor catching him as he kneels and confesses his burdens to Iroh. His voice breaks as he recounted the lives lost by his hand or his orders, his soul laid bare before the old firebender. Iroh listens, his expression one of deep sorrow mixed with boundless compassion. Lad, he says softly, true strength comes from the courage to confront your past and the compassion to forgive yourself. Let me show you the path to peace. The months that follow are transformative. Iroh's compassion and the serene environment work to locally heal Anakin. The guilt and shame that had shackled him begin to dissipate, replaced by a growing sense of hope and a newfound connection to the Force. His abilities, long stifled by physical and emotional scars, flourish anew as he starts to learn to redirect and control not just fire, but also lightning, channeling it through the being without harming himself. As his mastery grows, so does his desires to shed the remnants of Darth Vader. With Iroh's guidance and the aid of the Order of the White Lotus, Anakin decides to remove as many of his cybernetic enhancements as possible. Engineers, though not as advanced as those in the Empire, worked meticulously to free him from the mechanical constraints that had defined Vader, as he had become more machine than man. His breathing apparatus and pain inducers are removed, and through a combination of forced meditation and natural remedies, the light side begins to flourish in Anakin again. His lungs start to heal, his hair grows back, and the vitality of his youth seems to return. Now, standing taller both physically and with his modifications to return him to his original height, and spiritually, Anakin feels reborn. His mechanical limbs remain, but even these he transforms into conduits for newfound abilities, channeling the lightning with a finesse that mirrors his inner calm. As he stands with Iroh one evening, watching the sun set over the distant mountains, Anakin feels a peace that he had not known since the days of his youth. "I'm ready," he declares, his voice steady and clear. "Yes, Anakin," Iroh replies, a smile playing on his lips. "You are ready to bring balance, though not through domination, but through harmony." After Iroh's training, now guided by the light side, Anakin returns to where his journey on Iroh's planet had begun, at the wreckage of his TIE X-1. He sends a distress signal into the void, but it vanishes unanswered, swallowed by the unfamiliar star system that was unknown to the Empire. The local technology is primitive, insufficient to repair his advanced starfighter, but Anakin's newfound serenity proves more powerful than any mechanical tool. Weeks pass with Anakin meditating and reaching out in the Force, searching for a rescue. Finally, his patience bears fruit. He senses a ship traversing the nearby star lanes. With a deep concentration, Anakin guides the vessel towards his planet, using the Force with a precision that had eluded him in darker times. The crew aboard, unfamiliar with the visage of Darth Vader, finds only a Jedi awaiting them. Anakin presents himself humbly and secures passage back to the heart of the Empire, Coruscant. Upon his arrival, Anakin navigates his borrowed ship into the grand docking bay of the Imperial Palace. Using his still active Imperial credentials, he manages a discreet landing. However, as he descends the ramp, he's not met with the unexpected honor guard of stormtroopers and red guards, but with bewildered faces. Here stood not the feared Sith Lord that they anticipated, but a Jedi Knight. He spoke of peace, not war. Their hesitation gives Anakin the moment he needs to assert control, gently pushing them aside with the Force as he makes his way towards the Emperor's throne room. The grand doors of the throne room open to reveal Emperor Palpatine, who sits ensconced upon his dark throne, his face contorting into a sneer as he perceives the altered aura of his former apprentice. "Lord Vader," he begins, his voice dripping with venomous disappointment. "Or should I now address you as Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker? I thought I lost you with the Death Star. What happened?" Anakin stands firm, his gaze unyielding. "Vader is no more," he declares, his voice resonant with the calm authority of the Jedi that he once was. "I am Anakin Skywalker, returned to end the tyranny I once helped you create. I have found new strength, one that comes from peace and understanding, not from fear and anger." Palpatine rises slowly, his face twisting into a mask of rage. "You dare to defy the destiny of greatness and power that I crafted for you?" he hisses, lightning beginning to crackle at his fingertips. Anakin, centered and serene despite the lethal attack, extends his hands and catches the seething bolts of energy, much like Yoda did before. Channeling the teachings of Iroh, he allows the lightning to pass through him, using his body as a conduit. With a deft movement born of his firebending training, he redirects the energy out of his other hand, sending it hurtling back towards Palpatine. The Sith Lord is thrown backwards by the force of his own attack, crashing into the ground in disbelief at the skill that Anakin had mastered. Regaining his footing, Sidious drew both his lightsabers, igniting them with a hiss that fills the charged silence of the room. He attacks, his blades a whirlwind of red that seek to cut down Anakin where he stands. Anakin, however, moves with the fluid grace of a firebender, his movements guided by the peace within him rather than the conflict that Sidious sought to sow. Each strike from Sidious missed, not by chance, but by Anakin's design. Fueled by rage at being outmaneuvered, Sidious intensifies his assault, finally managing to unbalance Anakin, forcing him to ignite his own blade. Sidious's fearsome attacks disarm Anakin, sending his lightsaber skidding across the sleek floor. Undeterred, Anakin reaches out with his bare hand, calling his lightsaber back to him. The plasma blade, controlled by his calm resolve, does not burn him as he grabs it, further deepening Sidious's shock. In a swift motion, Anakin headbutts Sidious, sending the Sith Lord staggering backwards toward the windowsill of his office. As Sidious crawls away, desperation evident in his every move, Anakin points his lightsaber directly at the cowering figure. "This ends now, Sidious," Anakin declares, his voice resolute and clear. In a last-ditch effort, Sidious unleashes a torrent of Sith lightning, more powerful than before, pouring all of his remaining strength into a final strike that was meant to obliterate Anakin. But Anakin, standing firm, channels the lightning once more, redirecting the energy back towards Sidious, leaving the Sith Lord immobilized and too weak to continue fighting. Instead of delivering the final blow with his lightsaber, Anakin steps closer, a different resolution taking form in his mind. Drawing upon the ultimate lesson of peace and destruction that he had learned from Iroh, Anakin inhales deeply and then exhales a powerful stream of fire directly towards Sidious. The intense flame enveloped the Sith Lord, consuming the last vestiges of his dark power in a literal and symbolic purge by fire. As the flames die down, Anakin stands over Sidious, who is now beyond fighting back, defeated not just by Anakin's martial prowess, but by the very peace that he had tried to destroy with him in fostering the Sith Code. Anakin deactivates his lightsaber and looks around the throne room, a place that had once symbolized the darkest parts of his soul, now the scene of his ultimate redemption. Victorious, Anakin Skywalker stands before the galaxy, his voice broadcast over every corner of the known universe. His declaration that he and Darth Vader were indeed the same person sends shockwaves through the masses, but it's his heartfelt apology and promise to right the wrongs of his past that truly resonate with the citizens of the Empire. As the newly proclaimed ruler of the Empire, Anakin wastes no time in dismantling it, much to the dismay of military officials such as Tarkin and Yularen. He revokes the old guard of the Empire. Military funds, once used to enforce the Empire's iron will, are now redirected towards aid and relief efforts, healing the wounds inflicted by Palpatine's tyranny. For everyone's surprise, he pardons the leaders of the Rebel Alliance, inviting them to take place in rebuilding the New Republic. Mon Mothma and Leia Organa, wary but hopeful, agree to take this new coalition to heart. Leia, in particular, confronted Anakin about the destruction of Alderaan, a moment fraught with tension and sorrow in his voice. While she can't forgive him, Anakin accepts her anger with grace, supporting her relief efforts without hesitation. When stability is restored to the galaxy, and it begins to truly heal, in the first free election in decades, Leia Organa is elected over Anakin to be the Supreme Chancellor. Despite having the power to prosecute Anakin for his crime, she chooses to acknowledge his efforts to amend his former transgressions, seeing the genuine change in his heart. Years later, Anakin, now simply a man seeking peace and redemption, travels with his son Luke to introduce him to an old mentor who had changed the course of his destiny. They land their shuttle on the outskirts of Ba Sing Se, a place untouched by the wars that still ravaged much of the galaxy. In the quiet streets of the city, they found the Jasmine Dragon, a quaint tea shop that was a world away from the grand struggles that they had endured. Inside, Iroh and his nephew Zuko welcomed them warmly. Luke and Zuko, both young and eager to learn from their predecessors, quickly struck up a friendship, their laughter filling the small shop. At a corner table, Anakin and Iroh sit down with cups of steaming tea, Anakin not throwing it against the wall this time, and even requesting his favorite blend, Bantha Brew, the gentle aroma mingling with the quiet hum of conversation. As they play Pai Shao, a game of strategy and peace, they reflect on the winding paths that had brought them here. Each move on the board is a reminder of the choices that they had made and the battles that they had fought, along with the peace that they had found. Outside, the sun sets over Ba Sing Se, casting long shadows and bathing the city in a golden light. It was fitting to end a day of reunions and new beginnings this way, a gentle close to a saga that had spanned the darkest reaches of the galaxy, to find light in the most unexpected of places, and with the most unexpected of people.